Welcome to week 2 of your 16-week program. Before I get going in today's mindset piece, I wanted to give you guys a little extra challenge this week. Hopefully you've gotten in one of your strength training workouts, and like I had mentioned in the workout section, your workouts this month are all about the basics. So it's all about doing the basic exercises, getting those movements down, focusing on form. If it's an exercise you feel comfortable with, then go ahead, push the weights and challenge yourself more on those. But in addition to the strength training, I want to challenge you guys to do another physical activity that you personally enjoy. So if you like boxing, if you like walking, running, hiking, any of those things, pickleball, just something, golfing, and just making sure you walk instead of take the golf cart. Pick something that you enjoy, and 2 to 3 times a week, add that activity in as well. And it could be multiple things. For instance, I like to play pickleball. I'm gonna join a friend in a boxing class. I'm liking to mix up my different ways of getting cardio and getting activity and doing things that I enjoy. So I want to encourage you to do that, as well as making sure you're getting some walking in. So I always recommend 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day, just to get some extra steps in, get some extra movement in. Walking is so beneficial for you mentally, physically. So I want to encourage you to do that as well. All right. So last week we talked about understanding your unease. So when you're hitting resistance, understanding the triggers, the things that, the stories you're telling yourself, and how to overcome those stories, or how to switch those stories. First, to acknowledge them, what you're telling yourself, and is it working for you or against you? And then how to switch that into a story that's working for you, that's going to get you moving. This week, before we really start diving into more of the good stuff in the 16-week mindset program, this week we're going to talk about naming your why. And hopefully by now you've completed the packet, the goal guide, basically goal setting guide. That's what I'm trying to say. You've completed the goal setting guide, and so you've done some work on finding out why your goals are important to you. It is super important to know your goals. It's super important to really know, like, that's the destination I want to be at. I'm right here right now, and eventually I want to get to right here. So that knowing that goal is important, but also understanding why getting to that goal is super important. So to give you an example, the best example I can think of just off the top of my head is basically what inspired Cross Your Creek. And that was, when we showed up, we had this goal of hiking, completing a hike that day. We show up, there's a creek. So we needed a why. Why is it important for us to even bother getting across this creek? When you hit resistance, when you hit those things that are going to challenge you, whether it's you just don't feel like it that day, or somebody offers you something more fun to do in that moment, that's going to break your commitment to yourself. Someone's demanding something of you, anything like that, any kind of resistance that you might come against, which would be that creek. Why is it important for you to cross over or to push through that resistance? And if you don't have a really good, powerful why, you're not going to cross your creek. You're going to turn around, you're going to head on back, because you're just going to say it's not worth it. So if it's worth it to you, so for example, I use myself in the book as an example, because I was the leader of the group, and I wanted to show them my why to getting everybody across, and my why behind, writing it out for an hour until we did get everybody across, was so that everybody could see the mindset piece of that. So I was taking mental notes of everyone's reactions and things like that, and their choices that they were making in the process, the comments they were making, stuff like that, so that we could address it in the long term. So for me, as the leader of the group, it was a learning opportunity or a teaching opportunity. For somebody else that was in the group that finally decided, like, forget it, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get across this creek, within reason, obviously, but it wasn't like a really heavy flowing, dangerous creek. So I had some people hop in the rocks, knowing that maybe their foot might slip and their shoe might get wet. I had other people that just decided to just walk across, even though they got wet up to the knee. So why? They had to know why it was important for them to get across. And then the why behind that pushed them across, that made them say, instead of saying like, I'm going to go sit at the car and wait till you guys come back. Their why could have been that they saw how beautiful these mountains were, and that getting to the top and seeing that view was just going to be amazing. It could just have been just having that feeling of satisfaction, that feeling of accomplishment, of finishing what you set out to do. That could have been their why. But whatever it was, they had a reason they wanted to cross that creek. And that's what I really want to hammer out with you guys this week, into making sure that you really understand why you want to get from this side of the creek to the other side. What is it? Why is it important to you? I've had people tell me simply because they just want to get more energy, and they want to make sure they're going to be around for their grandkids and be able to be active with their grandkids. Or they want to be a good example for their kids and for their grandkids. A good example of what good health looks like, what good eating looks like, things like that. Some just see the summer coming and they want to be beach body ready for the summer. But typically there's a deeper why to that. And I always ask people to keep going and keep digging a little deeper. I mean, that might push you, to get to the summer, but what's going to keep you going on the long run? What's really going to push you to continue to want to learn these new habits and dump the old habits and pick up the new ones. So super important that you understand your why, and that you really kind of discipline yourself to sit through it and sort through, to keep asking yourself why. There's so much power behind the why. And there's something I wanted to, there's a quote that I put in the book that I always think of when, somebody comes to me and they want my help because they want to get in awesome shape, and I'm asking them why. But then they want to know the how. They want to know how we're going to do it. The how is typically irrelevant. Again, I'm talking about within reason. If your why is powerful, you will overcome any how. You'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. So if becoming healthy is your goal, and having a healthy, lean physique, and having healthy habits is your ultimate goal, why is that important to you? And if it's because I want to be around longer for my grandkids, that's pretty deep, and that's something that's going to get you up and get you moving in those moments that maybe you don't feel like it. It's something that's going to help you stay the course. Or if you happen to get off course a little bit and you dig deep and you remember, why did I set out to do this in the first place? Why am I doing this? It'll push you to get right back on track. So, because I don't want you guys to think if you get off track for a day, two, or whatever, that it's, you're done. You're not. There's not, and I've said it already, but we are not shooting for perfection at all. That's not what you want. What you want is consistency. So if you're off for a couple days or whatever comes up and happens, just make sure to get right back in it and create that consistency for yourself. So there's some things as far as I wanted to read off to you. So the thoughts on the importance of having a deep, impactful why. Remember, it's got to be deep. It's got to be bigger than just I want 6-pack abs. Okay, so why do you want 6-pack abs? And so I'm going to read some of these off, but it's about finding a deeper meaning and having that deep meaning that's really going to move you. It keeps you feeling fulfilled at your core. So when you're doing it, you're completing each task, you're staying on track with your nutrition plan, you're on track with your workouts, you're feeling that sense of fulfillment for yourself. It keeps you focused. It keeps you passionate about your goal, keeps that fire burning. It really does. And if you feel that fire going out, you just got to get back in touch. Why am I doing this? Why does this matter to me? Gives you clarity, helps you push through challenges, which is that resistance that I talked about, and then adds to your feeling of gratitude as you move toward your goal. So you feel more, you figure you just overall feel more accomplished. And having that why and understanding that why is super, super important. And just to give you guys another example, so now it's been about 7 years. I can't believe it's been that long. I decided that I wanted to push a little bit harder and take on the challenge of transforming my body and see what I could do with, like optimum nutrition and great workouts and all that stuff. So it initially started as a 16-week deal for me as well, because I think 16 weeks is just like an awesome amount of time to really start to transform. And you might get your full transformation in the 16 weeks, but remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So this is something we're looking at lifelong, lifestyle, things like that. Not I got to get there and then I'm done. Because I think that's what a lot of us have done is, dieted or whatever, get there, we hit our goal, and then we're done and we're back to where we were before. So this is all about the long haul, the lifestyle, those habits. But I remember, I was working out hard and I was doing a lot of strength training, a lot of different sprint work, stuff like that. I had a coach. I hired a coach, and she kicked my butt. And there were days where, she was all online, so it wasn't like an in-person coach. But there were days where my legs were exhausted, and I knew maybe I had leg day that day, or I had 30 minutes of steady state cardio, and I did not want to. But I would think about the why. And my why at the time was it was basically because I'm a coach, and there's this part of me, this huge part of me that wanted to show my clients what is possible when you really put your mind to it. So that's the thing I kept thinking about, and I just kept focused on that why. And I wanted to hit my goals so I could show people this, it's possible, we can do this. I was 45-ish years old, 46 maybe. I can't even remember. Mid 40s. And I wanted to show what was possible still at that age. And that, I kept putting it out there what I was doing and that I had this goal, so that there was that level of accountability as well. So those days I didn't want to, I just got up, got moving, to start stretching. And then usually once you start stretching and get moving, you're in. You start feeling better and you start pushing more and stuff like that. So it's usually just that initial step of getting moving. But that was the fire for me. That's what kept the fire going, or I should say the wood in the fire. That's what kept it going, was just knowing that my ultimate goal was to show people what's possible when you pick a plan, stick to it, and make it happen. And it's what pushed me. So that was my why. It wasn't just about, trying to get my 6-pack of abs or getting into a smaller pair of jeans. Yes, I wanted that for sure. I definitely wanted that. But that probably wouldn't have kept me going on the really hard days. What kept me going was that deeper meaning for me. So that's what I really want to make sure. Hopefully you've done your goal guide. And if you have and you feel yeah, my why is okay, but it's not this deep, meaningful thing that just lights your soul on fire, I got to get going, then I want to encourage you to really take that time and keep asking yourself, you basically keep asking yourself why. So what's your goal? I want to fit into a size 8 jeans. Why? Because I want to feel comfortable in my clothes again. Why? Because when I feel comfortable in my clothes, I feel more confident. I like going out more. I'm more social. That makes me happier. And then you just keep going deeper and deeper. Well, why? Well, why? You keep asking yourself the question, why? If you've read my book, Cross Your Creek, you'll notice in this chapter, the activity literally has you asking why. And then you answer the question, well, why do you want that? You answer the question, well, why do you want that? And you just keep asking why until you get to that point where you're this fires me up. This is why I want this. So this week, get in touch with that why, know what it is, and write it down, have it so that you can see it and you can remember this is why I'm doing this, and I'm going to stick to it from beginning till end. As imperfect as the journey may be, and most likely will be, as imperfect as it's going to be, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to keep moving, whether I'm moving fast, moving slow, feeling energetic, feeling tired, I'm going to keep going. So I just want to encourage you guys to do that and make that your focus for this week. And then next week, so what do we have? I'd have to look up what next week's is. So next week we have, so the book spells unstoppable. The chapters in the book spell unstoppable. So last week was understand your unease. This week is name your why. And I like name your why instead of know your why, because when you name it, you're calling it out. You're like, that's it. Instead of just like, oh, I know what it is. Like you're naming it, you're calling it out, you're putting it out there. So name your why with the N, and then secure your environment is next week. So UNS, uns is where we're at. So the S is, like I said, secure your environment. We're going to talk about making sure that you're setting yourself up for success as far as the people in your life, the things you have around you, how you're, feeding your brain, all that stuff. So I will see you guys on here next week with your video, and keep rocking it 1 week at a time. It's just 1 week, 1 day, 1 step at a time, and be patient with yourself, be patient with the journey. Nutrition is something that takes some time to really understand and learn. It takes persistency, but the more you stick with it, the more you're going to see like incredible results. So continue to be patient with yourself. Trust the process too. Trust the process. It works. I promise it works. You just got to follow the steps, check the boxes, and great things will come for sure. And there's going to be times when you're going to feel like you're not getting results. And that's why I want to make sure you're doing measurements, the scale weight. You got to know your weight anyway, but yes, do the scale weight. I want to make sure you're doing those things, and especially taking your before and after photos, or progress photos right now, because we're all in progress. So taking those photos every month, and tracking those so that you have everything, so you can really look like, and when you get into month 2, into month 3, even into month 4, you can look back at the beginning and see where you were, and you'll be like, wow, I didn't think I was getting much results, but it's right here, and so just trust the process, keep taking it 1 step at a time, and keep it going. Keep up the good work.